Comics Arts Certificate Program is a continuing ed program. It's entirely online. We noticed, and this was originally like a project with Joel Christian Gill, who is a comic artist who does history comics. I do nonfiction, memoir, and comics journalism comics, and we think that comics are an amazing modern way of telling stories, and we thought it would be great to, as mass artists thinking about making an accessible program, that making one around comics would be just like a perfect fit, because everybody has a story, and comics is a super accessible form of storytelling. And I think that we've built a really lovely little, a little program here, which has a great community. Boston is also a great place to be making comics because it has a deep bench of comics here. We have something like 12 comic book stores in the greater Boston area. We have one of the premier indie Comic Cons, which is the Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo. Usually we call it MICE. And we just think that this is a great place to like learn about comics and to make comics. And who is we? Myself, I'm Haida Solbrig, Gerald Dye, who's teaching the short story comics, and LJ Batiste, who will be coming a little bit later. So, okay, so comics. This is another sort of image. If any of you are like local Massachusetts comics fan, this is an image taken in Millionaire Picnic, which is one of the oldest comic book shops in America. And it's also one of the few Black-owned comic book stores in there, and it's a place that we all feel a lot of community around. So we're building our program really embedded in a community of comic artists, and when you come and become part of our community, I think you become part of the Boston arts community. So that's one of the things I'm really liking. This is our second year. The students in the comics program have already put up their own Discord channel and have meetups. So we're building community in this program. So why comic arts? It is a popular forum. If you're here, you probably have been reading some great comics that are out there. There's some really lovely comics that are being made. It's all in publishing. It's one of the few forms of publishing that is really growing. It's being used in classrooms. It's being used as a basis for television programs and for films. So Hollywood is getting in on the action in terms of skills. It gives you a lot of illustration skills. It also gives you a lot of access to connecting all these different platforms that we're all part of now. So we include for job categories, because this is a continuing ed program, and we know you guys have busy lives and are thinking about like your career skills as well as thinking about your passion projects. So we're thinking about storyboarding for film and video, project managing for cross-platform media, social media audiences, and skills across this range of media practices. So in addition to being a comics artist, I am a media scholar. So I have a kind of wide range of knowledge about connecting us with these different realms. And it's just a really great, and it's possible that you want to make comics that are just about your project. You have your own life all set up, but you have this creative project you really want to do. And we're starting from the beginning. Comics is both a really accessible form but a form with a lot of depth to it and a lot of structure that you can learn in. And I think our program is designed to really put together those forms. And it's because it's accessible, I love the thing I love about comics is that kind of anybody can do it. It's not something that's based in like, if you have like a great drawing talent. Some of the best comics out there are made by people who just do stick figures. So one of the first things that people ask me when they're like, I want to make a comics, is they're like, do I need to know how to draw? And we give you some drawing skills, but we also think that this is about learning the form and telling a story, and you can do any level of drawing to do that. Here's the comic market is growing. There are a lot of people who are interested in buying and reading comics. So this is content that people want out there. I mean, I don't want to oversell it and say that like comic artists get rich, but I think that there are people who are interested in reading your story out there. And I think that's really meaningful to a lot of people. So what's this program like? It's fully online. And that said, I think and I think Gerald will support this. We put a lot of energy into making this like, based in community. We bring in local artists. We meet at Mass Art. We have like events. We are building a community of comics artists that is also embedded in the Boston community of comic arts. I went to, there's something called the Boston Comics Arts Foundation, and they've been doing these summer programs, and I've been seeing my students there over the summer. So I'm kind of excited about that. So the classes are pretty fast. So they're in the evening, they're 3 hours long, and so 7 weeks, there are 2 7-week classes from September to the end of October. And then there are 2 more 7-week classes from November through December. So, and there are 6 requirements and 2 electives. So the first 2 classes in this first section of September are Introduction to Comic Arts, and I think it's Character and World Building, taught by LJ Baptiste. So here are the course sequence. Now you can take this in any order. We have folks who have joined the certificate program in January. So they took a lot of their electives first, and they're going to be doing the intro this September. And that's fine. Like that, I think that we really work with, because the classes are small, we work with people where they're at. A lot of people come in with like, I have a graphic novel I want to write. This is my project. And whatever class you take, we can help you work towards that project. And comics are being taught in higher education more and more. So these classes are really what I think are kind of the standard classes, with some addition based on what our faculty's like real skills are. So Introduction to Comics and Visual Narrative, pretty self-explanatory. Cartooning and narrative illustration. Although we're telling you, and I stand by this strongly, Gerald, you can also back me up on this. Comics are not illustration. It's not about like a high-end illustrative skill. It's about storytelling. That being said, you can learn a lot of very simple like tricks and skills to tell your story better. And that's what cartooning and narrative illustration helps with. Nonfiction and memoir comics is a very growing genre. And I've been writing memoir for 10 years. I also do some comic journalism, and both of those forms have like big audiences right now. Introduction to Comics and Visual Narrative, character design and world building. Now that's actually I think of that as a really important course, because I think I mentioned that comics is connected to all these other platforms. So game design, Hollywood storytelling, storyboarding, all character design and world building are important for that. And so I think of that as a class that will give you a lot of skills towards a lot of different entrees into being a graphic storyteller. Graphic publishing. We want you to come out with some sense of like, what do I do next? So the final class, this is the graphic publishing. We bring in publishing and professional artists in addition to our faculty who publish. And we talk to you about how do you move your work out into the greater world, and how do you get an audience. So cartooning and narrative illustration is like, because we think that that narrative illustration part is something that people often slows people down, where we give you two sessions of that. Okay. Course sequence, electives. So comics and speculative fiction. So many people who write comics tell fantasy stories, tell science fiction stories, tell imaginative graphic stories. And so we want there's a wide field there, and we want you to like be able to really tell us story. In fact, I'm going to throw this for a second to Gerald, because he teaches that class, and if you want to give us a couple sentences on that class, which I think is
Yeah,
really
sure. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love about comics, because they're a drawn medium, they're really only limited by your imagination. So, anything you can dream up can become a comic, which is one of my favorite aspects. You don't need a budget. It doesn't take any extra money to produce a comic that takes place on a space station than it does in your bedroom. So you can do whatever your
right.
imagination can do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely one of the things that attracts me to comics too, is you can really I come out of the film world, and so many of the things that you need a crew and you need a budget, you can do in a comic, you know, pretty close to free, and produce something really, really beautiful. So I love the accessibility and also the imaginative possibilities there. Color form, color letters, comic systems, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Comics journalism, these days, telling nonfiction stories visually and graphically is becoming more and more a part of journalism. So I teach that class, and really we have a lot of professional journalists who take that, because right now journalism is in kind of a place of trying to figure out how to bring audiences in, and they're competing with all these different platforms, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do journalism now, and comics journalism is one of the ways that journalists are connecting their work to like the platform world. And short story comics, Gerald, take it away.
Yeah, do you want me to do my whole spiel on this course, which is offered in the fall?
If it's not too
Yeah.
long, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. So short story comics. Um, this is a class I'm really excited to teach. I feel like the short story art form is a really exciting art form in general. Just the ability to tell a short story is unique to other long form comics. A lot of people, when they start getting into comics, they often think about the graphic novel first, which is I always think a little bit dangerous, because it's a big drawing your own graphic novel can take a long time, and people tend to get stymied in that process. So the short story is a great like entree into working on your craft, honing your skills, learning storytelling tricks. It's also a great opportunity to get your work out there. So it's much easier to produce a short story for a self-published zine, or to submit short stories to anthologies, or submit short stories online that people will read. Like, all of these avenues are great ways to practice your craft, get your work seen by others. Yeah, also in this class, we're going to look at a lot of amazing short story comic artists like M. Carroll and Eleanor Davis, Luke Pearson, Junji Ito, Sergio Topi, Paul Kirschner, and a whole bunch of others. So the class is like part learning this craft and also studying masters of the form.
Cool, thanks. Now I want to take it. Uh, okay, thanks, Gerald. Right. So learning outcomes. We wanted to think about, like, you guys, you're busy people, and that's what continuing ed is about. It's about like trying to get some, like a creative experience, in your busy lives. So we wanted to really give you a sense of what you get out of this, out of either taking the certificate program altogether or just taking one of the classes. So skills, writing, storyboard, narrative drawing, and mark making. All of these are, sort of large skills that we spend time, that I think like all of the faculty who teach in this program really care about. So narrative drawing and mark making, page design for narration. There's this phrase that I really love about comics, which is comics is not writing and drawing, it's poetry and design. So I think learning page design can be a really crucial step in understanding comics. So lettering and font design is also one of the very hardest things about comics, is getting your lettering right. Book design, you're making books. So we're making books, even if they're comic books, even if it's just like a little foldover zine, there's a design element to it. Comics for web design. I was just talking to one of the students from the started the certificate program in January, and she put her webcomic up on Comicopia, one of the online programs, and she's like, "Oh, I have a whole new design challenge to
It was
figure."
Webtoon.
What?
It
Oh, is
was
that
Webtoon.
Webtoons? Thank you, thank you. This is Sophia, and um, yeah, it's a whole new challenge. So each like little section is really like more of a design challenge than you imagine it as you get there. But it's also one of the really fascinating parts about comics is all those little pieces that work together. Journalist and ethnographic methodologies. I come out of a social science background, so I really care about that part of thinking about journalism and graphic journalism. Publishing, marketing for small press publications. So last year we brought in we brought in some publishers as well as some artists who were recently sort of on the publishing circuit. So we want you to get, out there. We want you to make stuff and we want you to get out there. Okay, and now we're at the tuition and fees part, and I will throw it back to our team. Okay, so it's pretty self-evident, which is $570 per class. The total program is $4,600, and the books and supplies really, I mean, this is very much a, you can there are some basic things you need, but like I was saying earlier, comics can be produced in, like with a pencil and a piece of, printing paper. It's really beautiful comics can be made that way. So, so you have like a range of possibilities in terms of books and supplies. And I personally, a lot of the main texts that I use are available online. I use archive.org a lot. Archive.org has a huge amount of like texts that are available they're just free or for borrowing like a library. So so I do try to expose people to a lot of new comics, but also I try to make sure that it's not too pricey. Okay. Okay, this is where I'm going to throw it over to the team. How do we apply, Brenna?
Oh, I can answer.
Oh, okay, Jackie, how do we
Hi. So there's no application. All you have to do is register for a class. And when you go to register for a class, you'll see two options. One is just to take the class, and the other is to take the class and enroll in the certificate program. So choose, if you want to be in the certificate program, choose workshop and enroll in certificate program, and then we'll put you in it. That's it. We're not gonna, there's no application process. So that's it.
Excellent. Okay, so this is Jackie, Brenna, do you have more sort of like house cleaning kind of stuff that you'd like to one thing I do want to point out that it can be a little confusing on the website. So just be sure that you check out for the invite that got you here. There are links. Use those links if you want to sign up, because if you do like a Google search, you might end up on the MassArt website part, which doesn't really necessarily get you to the sign up. So
Yeah. Go on, Jen.
Can I add something here? So if you're interested in joining the program and you go to register and you register for just the one that says workshop, and then you start taking the workshop and you say, geez, I really want to be in the certificate program. Send us an email. Just say, hey, I want to become part of the certificate program. You don't have to go register again, because then you have to pay again, and you don't want to do that. So if you just click it and say, I want to try it out, and you get halfway through the class and say, this is great, I want to do it, just send us an email. Send me an email, or send it to the general email, and we can just put you right into the certificate.
Cool. Okay, so now we're at 6:22. I only wanted to talk for like 20 minutes, so I think I'm at my. I do want both LJ and Gerald to give a slightly longer intro of like what their background is and what they teach. So just tell us a little bit about your comics making, and then we can open it up to the class to ask questions. I will call on you, LJ.
Hey everyone. So yeah, my name's LJ. And as Haida was just mentioning, I'm one of the educators for the comic certificate that's been happening here at MassArt since it first launched fall of last year. And yeah, like I've been doing comics forever. Much like Gerald got to point out, and Haida also got to point out, one of the things that I love about comics is just the versatility that's there with it. It's an art form that allows you to explore and develop a lot of different skills in a bunch of different areas all at the same time. And I've always loved it, always been fascinated by it. I've made my first comic books since I was in first grade, stapling them together, selling them to friends and classmates and whatnot. And I'm still doing that now. And I do this graphic novel series called Comicscape. I've been self-publishing it, writing and illustrating it since 2012. And yeah, I've also explored using my characters in different mediums as well. But one of the things I love a lot is just considering the things that can be learned from other masters of the craft, like across um, different time periods and like across the world as well, similar to what Gerald was mentioning. So I love getting to have us study and break down the approach that different artists have made when it comes to comics. And I also really love getting to analyze things that have worked and things that may not have worked in certain comics, including my own, because even for my Comicscape series, I was a teenager still when I had started it. So there was a lot of stuff that I did not know when I had began it that I had to figure out afterwards. So there are times where I may take like an original version of a page and highlight that page for the class to get to learn like what was wrong with it and what was fixed in a later version that I replaced it with. So I like to also model myself as far as like things that I got to learn from my younger self as well, so that the class could avoid making certain mistakes themselves on their journey too.
Okay, should I go now?
Yes, next, Gerald.
Okay. All right. Hi. So I'm Gerald Dye. You've already heard a little bit about me. I've been making comics for about 15 years, I think. Yeah, similar to what Algie was saying, I love this art medium. It's a great way to express yourself. It's a great kind of entry to a publishing style of art that anybody can do, and that's what's really exciting to me, that anybody can make a comic and anybody can distribute their own comic and get their work seen by other people and tell their stories. And it's a kind of exciting time for that kind of creation. I've also been teaching comics to adults for over 10 years. I really love teaching to adults because y'all are so receptive, and I think people really understand and value the special time that you get making art together in a class setting. It's kind of a unique experience for people, and I feel like creativity can really come out of that experience where you have other people going through the same journey, learning the form at the same time. So that's what's really exciting to me about teaching this kind of a group of peers. Yeah, a little bit more about me. I've been making comics forever. I too make a lot of like self-published small press comics. LJ, hold the thing. I also do like experimental comics. So I had this one on hand, which is an accordion comic, which is a comic that unfolds. So I like to talk about, when we talk about short story comics, this is kind of a short story. It's very short. there's not much story here. But so we'll talk about some experimental comics. I've also illustrated for writers. So I've illustrated three graphic novels to date. The third one's coming out next year or the year after with First Second. So I've worked with writers and have that perspective, which is a different kind of comics making than making everything yourself. But I think it's pretty interesting, and some people in this program might be interested in that avenue, which I think we're open to as well. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. But yeah, I'm super excited to be coming back this fall, and hoping to see you guys in some of my classes.
Thank you, both of you. I just want you all to know that LJ and Gerald are both, kind of just like people in Boston know their work and highly respect it. You'll notice in the chat that Jason Weiser is here. You're cheering them on because they are, they are small celebrities in our comic circles. So I am so excited that we have. Yes, thank you. Sorry, not small celebrities, huge rock stars, because really, like they are people whose work is just shows like a real, really what you can do with comics is like LJ's been making a comic strip that has been ongoing for 10 years. And that is such an accomplishment, and to build an audience like that and to figure out all the things that go into that is like, if he was in Canada, he would be a nationally recognized cartoonist. So just to say that, and Gerald similarly is just somebody who is like in Boston and beyond is very, very respected for like his work that to me has a very bande dessinée French comic style that like it really like shapes his
Yay.
oh, what's the yay? So anyways, like we have a deep bench here. Jason? And I'm really excited to have them. I teach, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I teach nonfiction and memoir comics. I come out of experimental documentary filmmaking. So I got interested in comics because you could do all the things in comics that you can do in film. And I also got excited in the ways that comics is a creative community in Boston. And, every city has its own like sort of identity creatively. And I feel like comics is one of the things that really distinguishes Boston's community. So for those of you who are from outside of Boston, you get like the benefits of our deep creative community. And for those people who are here, you have access to all of these different events and different comics possibilities that are here. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the like